G'day, this is Scotty Tucker. Just want to do a quick video on Azolla. Azolla is, it actually looks like a fern up close. It's actually a native species to Australia, but as you can see, being native doesn't mean it's good. It's a very, very invasive plant. It can double its surface area every 16 to 48 hours. So what can happen is that when you get an infestation of this, if you don't get onto it quickly and remove it, it very rapidly can overrun your whole entire dam. In this instance, I'm up here in beautiful Sunshine Coast up in Queensland, not long after they had a recent cyclone go through, and so there's been a lot of runoff, a lot of nutrient come in here, and it's clearly just spiked this bloom. It's not an uncommon sort of thing to deal with, but my main advice for this is just get onto it quickly. If you see it, deal with it right there and then. In terms of control options for it, to manually remove as much as is physically possible. Ideally, if you get it onto it early enough, a swimming pool net is all that you need, because you can just go around and get it out quite quickly. If it starts escalating, or if you're getting more, then it's practical to go around with a pool net. There are other tools. One of them is called a descuzzer, which is about 1 metre wide, kind of like a parachute type net that you pull behind, and it pulls the duckweed out, so you get more bang for your buck in terms of how much you get out per throw. Then you start coming into aquatic weed boom nets that you can get the 15 metres long, you run them across, and you can pull it into shore where it's easier then to get into access. And then there are other weed harvesting companies. If it's large enough or out of control enough, you may need to get machinery in to actually pull it out. Now, it's always a good idea to mechanically pull out as much as you can, because what's going to happen with other treatment methods, such as aquatic herbicides, what will happen is that all that dead stuff's going to fall down the bottom, and it just puts more pressure on bacteria down the bottom to decompose that. But when it gets to a point where it's not that practical, you do sort of have limited options. In Australia, we are somewhat limited with the chemical options that we have. We use a product called Aquatic Weed Killer, which is very effective on this type of plant. From an application point of view, if you do go down that path that you want to treat it using a herbicide, you want to do it on a relatively still, calm day, so that when you do spray, the wind and wave action, or definitely not rain, and so you'll go around and spray the entire area with a kind of misting sort of spray to make sure that you saturate the plant. Also a good idea at the time of treatment to use a product called Biostim Accelerator. What that does is it enables the chemical to be more effective on the plant, meaning that you're not needing to use as much. The other key thing with Biostim Accelerator is that it also rapidly degrades rotting organic vegetation, so it speeds up that degradation process. Aeration also is very, very important when that happens, especially if you've got fish in the system. If you've got fish in a system like this and you knock off a lot of Azolla very, very quickly, then what will happen, maybe not straight away, but a few weeks down the track, or sometimes even days, depending on the weather and the conditions out in the dam, what will happen is that rotting vegetation will strip a lot of oxygen out of the water, and then that can result in fish dying or fish kills, because not from the chemical treatment that you've done, but the knock-on effect from the degrading vegetation stripping oxygen out of the water. So if you've got aeration in the dam, you definitely want to make sure that you're aerating the water. Other ways to treat this are more preventative types of strategies, which is using nutrient binding products such as Phosphix, which will bind phosphorus and make that unavailable, and then also Biostim and aeration combined. They're tackling predominantly nitrogen. They also work impact on phosphorus, but what you're doing there is providing competition for this particular plant, which means that you're trying to grow more bacteria rather than more Azolla. So that's your prevention of fish kill, but it's also a very good prevention strategy to stop this stuff from growing in the first place, because if you're limiting the nutrient availability, you're actually limiting the plant. Now you can see behind me the Azolla is already starting to brown off, so the herbicide's having quite a rapid effect. It was only put on there probably, an hour or so ago. This is going to drop down to the bottom now, and then we are going to now need to rely on Biostim tablets, Biostim pellets to clean up that crap that's on the bottom. If we don't clean up that stuff that's on the bottom, it's just going to keep that cycle going, where the nutrient's going to resuspend back in the water over time and feed the next generation. So although in this instance we needed to use a herbicide, that's not the only thing that we want to do. We've got aeration in here already. We need to increase the numbers of bacteria to clean up the waste and prevent it from coming back. So we'll hand over to the client now for some after photos. She'll probably need to just do spot sprays on shore once it all opens up and the aerator is able to push everything to the sides. It's going to make it easier for her to manage any little re-events or pop-ups of product or stuff that we missed when we sprayed, but certainly it's going to be a lot more manageable.